Hi, my name is Steve Guettermann, and I would like to welcome you again to my treehouse studio in Bozeman, Montana. This is the third video of a series of three that are designed to be an introduction to stress mastery. But I've had a couple of questions, especially since the last video, of a couple of folks asking me to talk a little bit about my background, which, of course, I'm more than glad to do. So, as it relates to this course, what I'm talking about, um, it goes really back to 1979, 1980, when I was living in Ashland, Oregon, and uh, met a man by the name of Wallace Black Elk, a Lakota spiritual elder, who began to teach courses at Southern Oregon State College, now known as Southern Oregon State University in Ashland, Oregon. And he opened up his some of his ceremonies to the public, and I began to join him in sweat lodges. And that was my introduction, really, to authentic and compassionate Native American ways. I did that for a few years, and at the same time, in the early 80s, mid 80s, I had the good fortune to meet another man by the name of Jack Schwarz, who also lived around Ashland, Oregon. And even today, Jack is known as one of the founders, really, of the human potential movement because of his profound and pronounced abilities in human energies, intuition, and body regulation. There were studies done on him for years in terms of how he was able to do what he could do, and a lot of it related to brainwave training, which is largely what I learned from him as working directly with him at his Heart Center. And HEART is an acronym for Health Education and Research Training Center outside of Ashland, Oregon. So while I was working with Jack, not only did I teach some classes for him, biofeedback and other energy classes, I also ghost wrote, get the light off of this book with Jack called It's Not What You Eat, But What Eats You. So basically, I compiled a lot of his information, and we had interviews one on one where I got him to elucidate quite a few things, and then it was all compiled in this book, and he wrote a little bit of an acknowledgement to me in the beginning of it. So, um, I learned a lot from Jack in terms of, as I've mentioned, the human energies part of the meditation practices that I do. When I moved to Montana in the late, I almost said 1800s, it hasn't been that long ago, 1980s, I met another Lakota spiritual leader by the name of Jim Miller, who, like Wallace, I believe Wallace was from the Pine Ridge Reservation, and Jim Miller is as well. Wallace is no longer with us, but Jim certainly is, and Jim is also well known for pouring extremely hot lodges. So, but I had the good fortune to meet him, to do ceremony with him, and Jim is such an open-hearted person that he opened up his ceremonies to everyone. And like Wallace, he's also a combat veteran. He served in Vietnam. Wallace served in World War II. And I think these experiences began to, show them the importance of true human compassion and authenticity. So that's where, I can't say I necessarily have learned that, but I certainly have experienced that. And then with Jim, not only have I done lodges, but he also put me on the hill, which is the vernacular for Vision Quest. The Lakota word for that is Humblecha, and also Sundance with Jim and other people up in Canada. Sundanced and helped with that for over 10 years. And then several years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, I've had the good fortune to meet Don Oscar Miro-Quesada, a well-known and respected Peruvian shaman, healer, and teacher who is just almost literally as well as figuratively out of this world. As entertaining as Jack Schwarz is, and was, he's no longer with us, Jim Miller is, Don Oscar certainly has been a big blessing for me, and I think for many other people. And not only that, but he wrote the foreword in my latest book, How to Get Even with the Universe by Getting Right with the World, Working Within Sacred Space and Time. And yeah, it's a mouthful, but there's a lot in here. That's why it has such a big title. But sometimes I think Don Oscar's foreword has, in a few pages, has more valuable information than the rest of the book combined. So this is some of the background, and these are the different influences as well as experiences that I bring to this type of practice. And so that's why it's so eclectic.